It's a story of a human girl who falls into a fey realm. It's a tale as old as time. I'm not the first person to tell this story, but the fun part for me with writing Quicksilver was that I took things that were, I mean, there's no such thing as canon when it comes to fantasy, but like more traditionally well-known ideas around fae and magic, and putting my own little twist on it. You know what I mean? I got to like incorporate vampires, and that was in a very different way as well. So I was looking at the story, and knowing, the arc and the beats of it, and who the characters were, and what the world was gonna look like, and how I was gonna like, put a really dark edge or twist on things, and give, the Fae a totally different kind of like lore, and the same with the vampires too. Taking things that we do recognize from many, many other books, like, from hundreds of, like, 100 years ago, and giving it my own little, adding my own little spice. So that was really fun. For I spent so much time researching as well, and especially for the like alchemy side of things. Alchemy's always really fascinated me, so being able to kind of like incorporate that and build a magic system out of it, like, that was very unique to Ceres. Like, she's drawn into this world, into court politics and all kinds of like nefarious bargains and dealings with the Fae, which we again see many times throughout, like, the history of this, content. Um, and being able to give her like an interesting, unique magic system that was new to them as well was kind of a really kind of fun way to play off on like old and new. Her magic system is based on alchemy. So there's the tria prima in alchemy, it's quicksilver, sulfur, and brimstone. Hence the titles of my books. Book 3 is not called sulfur. But they're the three bows of alchemy, and they focus on different elements, and there was no like setting around that I'd read personally, where magic had been tied to those things. Not specifically the elements. Obviously, that's been very much done before, but like the way that she manipulates metals. And I can't really say much beyond that because we learn a lot more about that in book 2. But just the elements of like research that went into it. Like, it's such a fascinating topic, and there's so much to read about it, and people had such crazy ideas back in the day about alchemy and transmutation. And I like the base of transmutation as an interesting like arc for the story as well. It's kind of like mirrored throughout the whole story. She changes an awful lot, like, no spoilers, but like she dramatically changes throughout book 1 and then into book 2. She steps into her power, and she completely is transformed. Her relationship with Kingfisher, it's mirrored throughout the book in different ways. It's a huge theme, and her magic reflects that too. And it was just really fun to, I don't know, obviously research is a huge part of it, but you get creative. Like, it is just a case of like, free reign to be super like creative and make stuff up. But the fun part for me is like laying it out in a way where it feels great, like it has foundation and is plausible in a way that you're not like kind of like flicking through the pages going like, I have no idea what's going on, like, I don't know how this works, da 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 da. Making it believable is a really good time. It was a really interesting time for me because I've written 40. Quicksilver was my 43rd book, and nearly every single book had dual POV. Because I love writing the male protagonist's perspective. I loved giving people like that inside, scoop into their heads, and you get to see their inner monologue. And it's definitely, how I'm used to writing. But with this particular book, I couldn't do that because Kingfisher has so many secrets, and they're so fundamental to how the story unfolds, that the moment we step into his mind and we have access to his thoughts and his inner monologue, everything falls apart. So, this is an enemies to lovers story. And usually I would temper that by giving the reader access to, what's going on inside the guy's head. And I couldn't do that here. So the first chunk of the book, readers are just like, man, I hate this guy. When is he going to get likable? Because he does have his own agenda, and it's really hard to like it's a very fine line to tightrope that without, making them hate your character. Um, and also just super like confusing them. I don't know. He's a very mysterious guy. And he has a lot of secrets. But I spent a lot of time fleshing him out and finessing him so that, you know, he's designed to be, intriguing. He's meant to draw you in, of course. And I hope I accomplished that. I like to think I did, fingers crossed. But
Would
in book two, it's stepping into another world because you like half of the book is his POV now, finally, thank God. So you do get access and you get to like, retrospectively look back and see how he was feeling in these moments where, he was a bit of a punk and was treating her not so nice and, having a bad attitude, you know what I mean? But we love a bad boy anyway, so it's kind of like, it's catnip, but you're just like, when is he gonna be nice? He softens a lot in book two, and you see a bit more of like a vulnerable side of him, which was really fun to write.